example, what the world of augmented reality may mean for many of us. If you think about the possibility for technology in the human body. Neil is best known for being the world's first officially recognized human cyborg, and he'll be sharing his perspective on what he calls the evolution of the human species. So Neil, it's great to see you again. The pleasure's all ours. Please, the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, 1 in every 33,000 people in the world have never seen color. They are achromatopsic people. I'm one of them, so I've never seen blue, never seen pink, never seen yellow. So as a child, it was really difficult to understand what color is, because if you've never seen color, it's really difficult to understand what color is. If you try to define what blue is or what yellow is, it doesn't make any sense. So as a child, what I did is I tried to ignore the existence of color, but it was really difficult to ignore the existence of color, because people who see color keep mentioning it every single day, and there's many elements that contain color, and color is used as a code. Like, for example, hot water, cold water, it's usually expressed through color. So I usually have to try both tabs to know which one's which. Also, maps use color. This one's fine because I can follow the lines, but if I go to Tokyo, I can get easily lost, because some maps really depend on color detection. Also, when I was trying to learn the colors of flags at school, I had this situation where 3 countries share exactly the same flag. So it was really difficult to live ignoring color, because society uses color a lot. So what I did was try to understand what color is, and try to find a way to sense color in my own way. I was really interested then in understanding different theories of color, and this one really excited me. Isaac Newton thought that there was a relationship between color and sound. So he created this color scale, and he put a musical note to each color. He thought there was a connection, but he couldn't prove it. Now there's technology that allows us to detect that each color has a vibration. So he was right. There is a connection between sound and color. They both vibrate. And he couldn't know which vibration was which, but now we can tell that, for example, red vibrates to the frequency of the note F, for example. Yellow vibrates more or less to the frequency of G. So when I was at university 20 years ago, I created a system that allowed me to transform the vibrations of color into sound. In 2004, the system was with a webcam and a 5-kilo computer and a pair of headphones. This was in 2003, 2004, and this allowed me to use a system that could detect the color in front of me, and I could hear the vibration of red and yellow and blue. So I memorized the sound of each color, and as you hear, now we hear vibrations from red to orange, and I kept memorizing the sound of each color. So there was a point I was able to distinguish all colors through technology, through this system, through sound, and I was able to tell which color I had in front of me through this new sense that I call the sonochromatic sense. But the system in 2003 was very big, and it wasn't very comfortable. My aim was to have this technology implanted in my body. So I collaborated with other students, and we created a system that was much smaller and cheap, in the form of an antenna. And then I went to the doctor and I said I wanted to have this antenna implanted in my head. And the doctor said, sorry, we don't do antenna implants here. If you want to have an antenna implanted in your head, first of all, you'll have to convince a bioethical committee. So I explained to a bioethical committee that I wanted to have this system implanted. And they said no, that I couldn't have it implanted because it was not ethical for them because of different reasons. Because it was not a pre-existing body part, so if it was a leg or an arm, they would find it ethical. Because it went beyond the perception of color, because it was hearing color, so they didn't find it normal, and they said no, but they helped me find a doctor that did the surgery anonymously, and this was implanted in my head finally. So this is now an antenna implanted in my skull that has a chip, and then it detects the dominant color in front of me. It sends the vibration inside my head, and then I can hear and feel the colors in front of me through vibrations. This helps me detect all the visual spectrum. And from 2004 until 2009, I memorized the sound of all the spectrum. But then I realized there's many more colors that exist that humans cannot see, like ultraviolets that go beyond the human spectrum. There's also infrareds that go beyond the human spectrum. So technology can detect these colors, but humans can't. So I didn't see why I should stop in the human perception. So I included infrareds and ultraviolets, and this suddenly allowed me to extend my perception of color beyond human perception. So now I can sense ultraviolet levels of light, which is something that many insects can do, and I can also sense near infrared levels, which is something also other animals can sense. In a practical level, infrared allows me to know if there's movement detectors in a room or in the shop, so I can tell if the alarms are on or off in a shop or in a bank, so I can tell if the alarms are off. Also, ultraviolet perception can allow me to feel if it's a good day or a bad day to sunbathe. So if I sense there's high levels of ultraviolet, I avoid the sun because ultraviolet can be harmful for the skin. So these are some of the utilities of sensing ultraviolet. But then when I was able to sense these levels, I didn't see why I should stop there either. There's an internet that exists, so I didn't see why I shouldn't implant also internet connection so I could sense colors beyond my body. And this is what I did afterwards. We implanted Bluetooth connection so I can also receive colors from other parts of the world. So having internet now allows me to separate my body from my sense of color. And there's people around the world that can send colors to my head. So now I'm here in Dubai, but maybe a friend from New York can use an app and then suddenly send colors to my head from a supermarket in New York. So he can share his sense of color directly into my head. If he had an antenna implanted in his head, he could share the colors that he's looking at directly into my head without having to speak or talk, without having to use our traditional senses. So the internet can be used as a sense or as a sensory extension, not only to connect to friends, but also to connect to satellites or to NASA's International Space Station, which is something I started doing in 2014. I can connect the antenna to NASA's International Space Station, and then I can sense colors from space. There are sensors in the station that can feel colors, and you can connect. It's publicly available online, so I can connect to the internet, and then I can sense extraterrestrial colors. So this is a new form of exploring space. I call it becoming a senstronaut. Instead of physically going to space, we can have senses connected to space, and we can explore space without having to travel to space. This also allows us to explore space 24 hours a day, because we can't live in space forever. We usually go there, visit, and come back. But if we have senses connected to space, we can explore elements that are far away from us permanently within our body. So the risk of having internet connection in the head is that can be hacked, physically hacked. And anyone that has implants and has internet connection will have this problem in the future. So what I did in order to reduce the danger of being hacked, because it happened once through all these years, someone without permission sent colors to my head. So I was physically hacked once, but I actually enjoyed it. It was interesting to experience this. But in order to avoid this, I created an NFT, so that the only way to connect to my head is via the blockchain. So having the connection to my body, or having the connection to any's body via the blockchain will be much safer. So if you want to send colors to my head, it needs to go through an unlockable content in an NFT. So this makes it much safer, because then I can know who is sending colors to my head. So basically, if we upload access to the bodies on the blockchain, then it will be much safer in the future. So that's one of the future uses of the blockchain, that we can use it also to have safer connections. I see this as cyborg art, the art of creating new senses, new organs, and designing our perception of reality. Cyborg is a word that basically means that you feel that you are technology. It's either because you are psychologically united to technology or physically united to technology. I don't feel that I'm using or wearing technology. I feel that I am technology, and that's why I define myself as a cyborg. I feel no difference between the software and my brain anymore, and I feel no difference between the antenna and my nose. It's a new body part. So that's how we define cyborg now. Many of you might already be psychological cyborgs. Like 20 years ago, many people used to say, my mobile phone is running out of battery. But now many people say, I'm running out of battery, as if you were running out of battery, but it's your phone. So we are already treating the phone as an extension of ourselves. So this is a first step of becoming a psychological cyborg. So it's not too far step to become a physical cyborg as well. I had a situation with the UK passport office because they didn't allow me to renew the passport. They said that this photo was not allowed. They said that I had to change the photo. So I insisted in 2004 that they should accept the antenna as an organ, and in the end they accepted the antenna as an organ, and this helps me travel because at airport security I always have problems because they don't understand what this is, and they ask me to look and they check, but if I show the passport with the antenna it helps a lot. So official recognition of cyborgs and people that are technology is also something that governments might have to deal with in the future when more people merge with technology physically. I'm also in conversations with the Swedish government because the materials that I used to create the antenna are Swedish. So I'm telling them that I am Swedish because part of my body is Swedish. So I think I should also be entitled to become a Swedish citizen. Now, in order to become Swedish, you have to live in Sweden for at least 5 years. But I'm telling them that Sweden has been living in my body for more than 5 years, so I think I should be allowed to become Swedish. So as I said, there's many senses and organs that exist, like animals can create light, insects can detect ultraviolet, pigeons can detect whether north is, there's electromagnetism, they can sense elephants can sense earthquakes before they actually happen because they feel it through the bones. Dolphins can sense electricity, infrared vision. So there's many senses that exist that we could adapt to our bodies, and there's more people doing it. For example, Moon Rivas has implants in her feet that allow her to feel earthquakes. So whenever there's an earthquake, she feels it before it actually happens because she can feel from 1 in the Richter scale to more. So she can decide the range of earthquakes. So it's implants connected to online seismographs that give her the seismic sense. Also, she can connect to the seismograph that is on the moon, and then she can feel moonquakes. So in the future, she might also be able to detect Marsquakes. So it's a way of extending senses by having these little implants. This is Joe Deck. No, this one is a project I did with Moon Rivas in Brazil. A tooth was implanted in my mouth with a button and a vibrator. Also, Moon had this tooth implanted with a button and a vibrator, and then when I clicked, I would send a vibration to her mouth, and when she clicked, I would receive a vibration in my mouth. We both learned the Morse code, so we were able to communicate by sending messages by Morse code from mouth to mouth. We called it the transdental communication system, and it works by Bluetooth to the phone, from the phone to her phone, wherever she is in the world, and then from her phone to the mouth. So it's actually a Bluetooth tooth that allows you to communicate from mouth to mouth. It's a system that will work in space, because there's no air conduction in space. You can't talk to each other in space. There's no air. It also works underwater, because it's a way that you can communicate with other people. Also, if you are completely paralyzed and you want to communicate, you could use, if you're paralyzed but you can still move your mouth, you could use this system to communicate with others. This is also Joe Dagney. He has 2 implants in his cheekbones and at the back, and this gives him echolocation. He can feel presence around him, and he can decide the range of presence. So he can decide if he wants to feel presence in 2 meters, 4 meters, or 20 centimeters. So he decides the range. So instead of focusing on sight and hearing, he can just feel presence without using traditional senses. we know what magnetism is, but we can't feel if something is magnetic. So we created hair that can be implanted and it gives you magnetism. It's magnetic hair, so if you get close to something magnetic, your hair gets stuck. So it gives you magnetoception, which is something that, for example, other species in the water can sense. And it's a very simple implant, just hair, that gives you magnetoception. This is not a sense, but it's a very practical thing. If you have a tooth missing, it's a tooth with a small LED inside, and it gives you bioluminescence. You can create light in total darkness. When you click, you have light. I had it for a while, but I had problems because when I was eating, the light was going on and off all the time. So I had it removed. But it's practical in some occasions. Also, I had another implant in my knee, and 2 friends of mine also had it implanted, and it's a small compass that allows you to feel the magnetic north. So it's a small compass that allows you to feel the earth. So if you are in the subway where you don't know where is north, you can feel when the subway is going north or south. But if it's completely dark and you don't see the sun or the moon, then this is very helpful to detecting where you are. It also creates new memories, because new senses create new types of memories. This is Manel de Aguas. He has 2 implants he did in Japan, and he can feel the weather. So it's 2 weather stations, and it allows him to feel pressure, humidity, and temperature in a very precise way. So he's a weatherman, because he can feel the weather very precisely. Moon Rivas also created these earrings. Very simple. This is not an implant, it's just earrings that vibrate whenever there's presence in front of you, or if you turn them around, you can also feel presence behind you. So you can, like cars, we are giving these senses to cars, so why not give them to ourselves? This is like feeling if there's someone or something behind you. And this is the latest sense. It's a point of heat that takes 24 hours to go around the body, so it gives you a sense of time. So you can feel the rotation of the planet, and then you can feel time around your body. So if you feel the heat here, it's 12 o'clock solar time in London. Here it's 12 o'clock solar time in the Atlantic. This is New York. So you can feel time. Now the aim is that if your body gets used to it, if your brain gets used to this cycle, by changing the speed, you can make time stretch, or you can make time go faster. So the aim of this project is to bring Albert Einstein's theory of time relativity into practice and create time illusions. If you want situations to last longer, you program it in a way that maybe a party will last longer. If you are on a queue or on a line and it's slow, you can make it go faster. So the aim of this project is to see whether or not we can control our perception of time by having an organ for time. It should be possible, because in the same way that we can create optical illusions because we have an organ for sight, if we have an organ for time, we should be able to create time illusions. So what organs might be in the future? I think the most exciting ones will be the ones that will change society in order to make the planet better, like senses that will help the environment in a way. Like, for example, night vision. If we all had night vision, like owls, all these lights would probably be off. Dubai at night would be completely dark. We wouldn't need to spend energy creating light. So light would no longer be a need, but light would be more of a fun element, or something of decoration, something that we would be using for other reasons, but not for a need. Now, we need light to see at night, but if we all had night vision, we would suddenly not need light anymore in this way. Also, if we had thermoregulators, regulating our own temperature would mean that we wouldn't have to spend so much energy creating heat when it's cold, or creating air conditioning when it's hot. So thermoregulators will also be better for the planet, because we won't have to change the temperature around us. So the aim is that the senses and organs that we will create in the future will be in order to not change so much the planet around us, but change more who we are, so that we can adapt to the planet. So the aim is that instead of designing the planet, we should be designing ourselves. I hope you enjoyed this talk, and I hope to talk to you again. Thank you.